Hey, it's Thomas Arc 11 with a guide on how to build tanks in Xenoblade 3. Like with my guide for Signifer and buff support, this will be more about the basis of the builds rather than exact details, since as long as you're going off the basics, it'll work and you can customize the rest however you want it to. To start with, you can build defenders as tanks, but attacker classes are actually easier to build as tanks than defenders are. There's three main reasons for this. The first is that attackers have natural damage boosts, meaning higher aggro without investment into aggro management. The second is that the effective methods of tanking work for any class, so the bulk of defenders just isn't too important. And the third is that the game rewards you for having aggro on non-defenders through use of Protector's Pride and Fraternal Badge recharge effects. Seraph is by far the best tank class thanks to its combination of easy awakening and stupidly high damage, but any class can be built as a tank with enough investment. It's just a scale of how little investment that it takes. So there's two types of tanks that I'll be going over. The first is damage reduction tanking. Damage reduction cuts all damage taken by a percentage, and this percentage stacks from various effects up to 100. At 100%, all damage taken is reduced to a minimum of 1 per hit. This might as well be 0 since you have thousands of HP. The second type is evasion tanking. By having evasion arts on multiple fusions, the master arts available for this are Jackal Claw, Aerial Slash, Wide Slash, and Quick Draw, and enough recharge boosts, you can infinitely cancel evasion arts into each other for permanent guaranteed evasion and never get hit. Here's some quick examples of these methods in action. I also forgot to mention, but attacker classes have a much easier time charging their talent art. So you can see here Noah is taking just 1 damage each hit. And Uni is evading every hit. So now on to how you achieve this. For damage reduction, these are your noteworthy ways of stacking it on a build. Plate and shield belt accessories, these are 20 and 30% damage reduction effects respectively, but don't worry about the listed side effect of reducing your own damage because this is actually just subtracted from any damage boosts you might have. So if you have a 150% damage boost, like from Incursor or something, and then a 50% decrease from the item, you still actually have a 100% damage boost, so it's very easily offset. The next is defense up buffs. The base version of the buff is 15% damage reduction, but with the gem for buff strength and soul hacker skill for it, this can go up to 27%. This is first available from the advanced cooldown field from the dissolution effect of it. I have a list of field effects if you want more on that. And later is a direct buff from Soul Hacker, which is a lot easier to use. The next one is Solid Stance. This is a 27% damage reduction with a similar effect to the accessories from Heavy Guard and is available as a master art on any Agnian class. Because of this, it's somewhat easier for Agnian classes to use damage reduction tanking builds than it is for Kavesi classes to use it. Awakening. Probably the best buff in the game. Among other effects that makes Awakening awesome is that it gives 25% damage reduction. Early on, this is only available on Guardian Commander through its talent art. Later, you can use that talent art on other classes for it, but even better is Seraph, which can get Awakening from a skill, and then once you get Awakening on a Resonant Flag user, either by being a Kavesi class with Deflector Field, or by interlink buff sharing with a Seraph, then you can give this to the whole party, together with the defense up buff, which can also be given to the whole party, and the next one, Abundant Oceans, which is just a passive skill that applies 15% damage reduction to the whole party. Just with these three universal sources alone, you can have at least 55% damage reduction on the whole party regardless of their own builds. And the last important one to talk about is Advanced Cooldown, the field from War Medic. Each field gives a 15% damage reduction to those inside of it. You can stack up to 3 of these, or 4 with the Lapidara skill, for up to 60% damage reduction from just this alone. This is a master art, giving another reason why Agnian classes have an easier time using damage reduction strategies. One thing worth noting about this though is that the AI will not use advanced cooldown if there are no defender classes in the party. So if you want AI party members to use this, you need to have at least 1 defender. Easiest way to do that is to just make your buff soul hacker into a defender class, but having a defender hero or any other defender build that's not being used as a tank will also work. I'll have another video about that at some point about defender builds that aren't tanks. And then there are a couple other damage reduction sources that aren't as notable because they're more things that are conditional. such as a skill from Lone Exile. At low HP you get damage reduction, or the Heavy Guard proximity field, which gives damage reduction when you're standing next to the Heavy Guard. So those are other things you can use for damage reduction, but these are all the really good ones that you can use. Now you can see why Seraph is such a strong tank thanks to damage reduction. So on to how you build for an evasion tank. The biggest thing that enables evasion tanking is the martial artist master skill Frenzied Combo. Thanks to how easy it is to get 100% crit rate, which I could do a separate guide for if anyone's interested, but it's outside the scope of this one, you get 30% of your art recharged per hit. For multi-hit arts, this applies on each hit. Then we have Recharge Up, an effect that stacks to increase the speed your arts charge. Every cumulative 100% of Recharge Up effects cuts cooldown times in half. Just some examples of this on screen. And this applies to Frenzied Combo's charge effect too, making the 30% charge double to 60% charge, etc. If you have at least 230% cumulative Recharge Up effects stacked, you can instantly recharge any art to full with Frenzied Combo. The amount you need is lower for multi-hit arts, but keep in mind that all the Agni and Evasion arts are only one hit. Notable sources of Recharge Up are the Fraternal Badge accessory and Protector's Pride master skill from Guardian Commander. Both of these are the same effect for 50% Recharge Up when a non-defender has aggro. The Masha version of the accessory is 55% instead of 50%, and I forgot to mention earlier the Masha version of the damage reduction accessory is 32% instead of 30%. Fast Recharge Buff. The base value is 20% Recharge Up, but with the Gem and Soul Hacker skill that boost buff strength, this goes up to 35%. Lapidarist and Soul Hacker both have arts providing this buff, but Soul Hacker will be the stronger source of it. Ring of Roses field, master skill from Troubadour, 20% recharge up per field. This can stack up to 4 of those as mentioned earlier, and the Dissolution effect gives the buff too. And then Awakening, we already talked about the sources of Awakening before, 50% recharge up from the Awakening buff. There's some other niche sources that aren't really worth using, so I won't mention those. Because of there being 3 Agni and Evasion Master Arts and Ring of Roses, but only 1 Kavesi Master Art, Kavesi classes are easier to build as Evasion tanks than Agnians are. The strongest option for an Evasion tank is Flash Fencer, but the easiest option is Fullmetal Jaguar, thanks to it having a built-in Evasion art freeing up a Master slot and a lot of multi-hit arts. Fullmetal Jaguar can even start working as a tank in Chapter 5 before you get access to Frenzied Combo and Jackal Claw, since you can get 100% recharge up from Pride and Badge together, at least 20% from the buff, and 50% from Awakening by using Deflector Field as your talent art. Now, if you want more specific builds, there's a document linked in the description containing builds for every class and some more in-depth details about mechanics. Not all of them will have a tank build listed, but you can apply these tank builds to just about any class, even Stalker, but you shouldn't do that for your own sanity. You can also check out some other Xenoblade guides I've done on things like building buffers, why agility is not viable for evasion tanking, hidden combat techniques, or some other stuff in the playlist that's up on screen now. If you watched to the end, comment Blossom Dance down below, and see you next time!